Hello, friends. It gives me an immense pleasure to be able to interact with you. And today I'm going to talk a little about a very special part of our country, the Northeast India, and why the biodiversity and the wildlife of Northeast India is truly special. It is so special that I could talk all day, but we'll still scratch the surface. But since time is of a premium, so we'll just go on a short visual journey and see why this area is really, really special in terms of biodiversity, wildlife, plants, animals, everything, and why we need to conserve it for our future generations. Like I was telling you, the Northeast India is a part of Eastern Himalayas. If you look at the Himalayan mountain range and the way it stretches along the northern part of India, it's divided into Western and Eastern Himalayas. So Northeast India and also other countries like Bhutan and Nepal, they form part of the eastern part of Himalaya. So they are called technically under Eastern Himalayan ranges. So if you, I'm sure you are familiar about what the word biodiversity means, and you don't need to explain in detail. It is the diversity of all life forms, be it an insect to the highest levels of mammals, birds, everything of an area. So, the richer the biodiversity, the more species we will see or encounter in an area. So, regarding that, the scientists all over the world have studied the patterns of species found in on all the countries, and they have identified certain areas which are truly special and have declared them as biodiversity hotspots, global biodiversity hotspots. So, it's an amazing fact that the entire Northeast India is included within one such global biodiversity hotspot. So it is also one of the richest biodiversity areas of the world, included within the richest biodiversity areas by a scientist called the Myers. He did this demarcation in 2000, the year 2000. So it is globally also very, very famous. By Northeast India, obviously we mean the Northeast Indian states. So if you look at it geographically within our country, we know of the seven sisters, the seven Northeast East Indian states, where Arunachal Pradesh is the largest by virtue of its geographical area. Then we have Assam, we have Nagaland, we have Manipur, we have Tripura, we have Mizoram, and Meghalaya, and also the Himalayan state of Sikkim. So, combined together, these eight states constitute the northeast part of India. And these states are amazing in terms of their landscapes, their wildlife, their cultural diversity, the people, their way of living. It's amazing. Like it's unlike any other part of India. What are the main highlights of the Northeast Indian biodiversity? If you look at the situation of forests in our country, the Northeast Indian part has been truly called and justifiably as the lungs of India because it has the largest and unbroken stretches of forest found anywhere in the country. The densest amount of forests, the largest amount of forests, the widest areas covered under forest, everything is found in Northeast. So it is truly acting as the lungs of our country, absorbing all pollution and giving us fresh air to breathe. Within that forest, there are 51 forest types. It's an equally amazing fact. We look at forests and we think that all of them are same, but the scientists have studied and they have classified the forest into 51 different types. Within these forest types, the Northeast India has more than 15,000 species of flowering plants. It is also an area with the highest diversity of birds in India. If you look at the total number of bird species found in India, we have around 1300 species, of which close to 850 are found in Northeast India. And some of these species are found in no other area of the country. So 70% of all Indian butterfly species are also found in the Northeast. And it's true with mammals also. There are several big animals which are found in the Northeast and nowhere else in the country. If you look at the iconic animals of India, all of you know about the tiger, all of you know about the rhinoceros. Both of them have a very, very good stronghold in the Northeast Indian part. They have certain areas where their population is so good we have tiger reserves, and we have areas like Kaziranga, which is famous for both tigers and rhinos. And like I was telling you, culturally also Northeast India is extremely special. We have more than 200 distinct individual indigenous tribal groups. So all of them have their own ways of living, their culture, the way they make their houses, their songs, dances, their diet, their dresses. So it's amazing. Like there are areas in Northeast where you travel from one valley to the other within a span of 10-20 kilometers. You would find areas which are so distinct they would seem like you've crossed over to the another state. So language wise also it's equally rich. So culturally also Northeast is probably one of the richest parts of our country. And since the Northeast has such a big amount of dense forests, there are still areas, probably the only areas in our country, which are relatively unexplored. That's why whenever scientists go to such areas to look at what wildlife species are there, they come up with new discoveries. And Northeast is probably the only part in the country which has come up with frequent discoveries of new species of wildlife. If you look at this slide, I've just gathered some news clippings and some social media records of new species being discovered in the Northeast, and all of this has happened over the past 7-8 years. So every now and then we hear of reports of new frog species, new bird species, new fish species, new plant species being discovered. And regarding insects, though, the numbers are very high. So Northeast still has such areas where new species are awaiting discovery. So I was telling you that there are 51 types of forests found in the eastern Himalayan Northeast Indian ranges. So how do they differ? For a common person, we just look at forest as a homogeneous type of vegetation. But if you look at where the forests are in an area which is very low, like in the plains, and if you look at mountain forests, obviously you would be visibly able to find out that there are differences. There are differences in the trees. There are differences in how dense the vegetation is. So based on that, if you look at the elevation, increasing elevation from the ground level till the top of the mountain, the vegetation and the forests also differ. So that's how people have tried to classify all the forests that you see. If you look at this picture on the slide, if you look at the valley at the bottom of the picture, this is an area which is not very high. Obviously, it's in the hill as a valley, but it is not very high. But if you look at the topmost part of the picture, the snow ranges, they are in areas where you would not find any trees or any vegetation. So obviously looking at this only, we know that there are elevation wise, there are areas where there are more trees, different kinds of vegetation. But if you go higher, once you cross a certain limit, you do not find any trees. So based on that, the scientists have classified this zone of forests along an elevation into 2-3 distinct types. So I'll just tell you about them briefly. So if you look at the scale on this slide, this is showing the elevation in meters. For example, the lowest elevation that we show is 1800 meter, which is the elevation of this valley there in the middle of the picture. So 1800 meter translates to around 6000 feet. And then once we climb to 2800 meters, which is the area of these ranges, so it is around 9000 feet that we are from the sea level. And still climbing higher, in 9000 feet we have still dense vegetation cover, big trees, bamboos, bushes. But once we start climbing higher, at around 3800 meters, which is around 12,000 feet, 12,500 feet, we are nearing the zone where trees have become very less. We only find bushes and grass. And if we climb even further, near the top of this picture where you see the snow ranges and the black mountain tops, this is an area which does not have any vegetation. So if we look at what these areas are called, so the lowermost areas, the valley that you see, which has dense vegetation, a good diversity of trees, bushes, shrubs, grasses, these areas are called tropical and subtropical areas. Once you climb higher, then you enter a zone called the temperate zone of vegetation. So in the temperate zone also you have good diversity of trees. Trees like rhododendrons, you may have heard of rhododendron trees and their beautiful flowers. You have trees like maple. You have trees like birch, from whose bark people used to write letters and make manuscripts in the olden days. And if you climb further, you reach the alpine areas. So alpine areas are the highermost areas in a vegetation gradient. There you do not find large trees. You only have small bushes and grasses, but a lot of grasses and small plants which have beautiful flowers. Once you cross a certain imaginary line called the snow line, above that you do not find any trees. The snow line as well as another line called the tree line are the limits of growth of large trees. So in case of Northeast India and the Eastern Himalayas, the tree line is situated at around 12,000, 12,500. So beyond 12,000 feet, in most of the cases, you would not find any trees. You won't only find this alpine vegetation of rhododendron and juniper bushes and other grasses and herbs. So this is how the different forest types and the different habitat types are situated in an elevation scale. If you look at a single photo, this photo, for example, has all three habitat types, which I have tried to show roughly. And also an important fact is that accordingly, in each of the habitat types, you find certain species which are found in that zone only. There are some species which are found in the lower areas as well as higher areas, but there are other species also which specialize in only one particular type of habitat. For example, either tropical or temperate or alpine. So they may only be found there. So just visually, how do these habitats look like? The leftmost, the topmost photo is showing you a typical river and typical tropical forest habitat. It is dense. It is mostly undulating or plain terrain wise. It has a lot of trees, it has bushes, it has bamboo, and it's warmer than the mountain areas. Then if you climb to a temperate area, this is around 10,000 to 11,000 feet. So you see that the forest type is definitely changed. You have more mountains, you have vegetation and trees situated along the slopes of the mountain, and the trees are also different. You have pine-like trees which are called conifers. You may know that conifers do not have leaves like other trees; they have cones and needles. So you higher you go, more coniferous trees you will find. And then if you climb even more and you reach the alpine area, you see in this photo only, you do not find any trees there. So this is an area where beyond 15,000 feet, 14,000, 15,000 feet, you only have grassy plains, meadows, and some herbs and bushes. But you would not find any large trees or any dense vegetation here. In the case of Northeast India, and especially in states like Assam and Arunachal, you also find large tracts of grassland. These dense grasslands are situated along the river banks of rivers like Brahmaputra and others, where you find a lot of important species like the tiger, the rhinoceros, the wild buffalo. So these different diverse habitat types are situated in most of the states of Northeast India. And this is why you find so much of diversity of wildlife, because in each of these habitat types, like I was mentioning earlier, you have certain species which are only found there. So combined together, you have a very rich collection of species of wildlife. So now we'll just look at some of the interesting examples of Northeast Indian wildlife. Like I was telling you, that the list is so high and the animals are so interesting that we could go on all day. But I've just tried to make a very rough, small collection of interesting animals and birds and plants to show you. So we start with this animal called the Tibetan wolf. All of us know of wolves, right? The wolves are found in other countries like Europe and USA also, but this is Indian species of wolf. If you look at the wolves in India, they are found in areas like Maharashtra, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and but they are only found in plains. But there is a variety of wolf which is called the Tibetan wolf, which is found in a very small area of northeast alongside Sikkim only. So this wolf specializes in living in very cold and harsh arid countries. And if you look at the fur, it's got a very thick fur. This fur is what helps it to survive in such harsh and cold snowbound areas. So Tibetan wolf is also one of the rarest species you find in northeast, but it is found in the northernmost parts of Sikkim. Uh, this is also a very unique animal that you only find in northeast within our country. This is called as a takin. It's called as a Mishmi takin to be exact. So takins are a very large. If you look at the picture, this animal seems like a cross between an ox as a deer. So this is actually what it originates from. This is a species called as a goat antelope. So they are not deers in the truest sense of the word. Neither they are related to cow, but they are a unique group of animals which are found in areas like China, Bhutan, and India. But in India, this takin is only found in the Northeast Indian states, and mostly the Mishmi part of this takin relates to a tribal group called the Mishmis, which are found in Arunachal Pradesh, the eastern and central part of Arunachal Pradesh. So these are the areas where you find the takin the most. So these are extremely rare animals. They are found in high areas, around high mountain areas, and they are seldom seen. They are solitary animals, but in winter they are said to gather in numbers of 30 to 40, especially in and around hot springs and sulfur springs. So Mishmi takin is such a mysterious and rare animal, and it's globally threatened. We know that it does not have a very large population, and it's threatened by loss of its habitat and hunting also. But this is one of the unique animals, large animals that we find in Northeast Asia. This is another one. This is called the Musk Deer. This is a very primitive and small species of deer, which is only found in the high mountains. This is also found in states like Uttarakhand and Himachal in the higher areas. But in most of the northeastern states, which have high Himalayan ranges, have a population of musk deer. So the unique thing about this deer is that if you look at the photo carefully, you can see its teeth is extended, large. It has large canine-like teeth, only found in males, which extend beyond the mouth. So this is what makes it unique and a very primitive type of deer. So it is a solitary deer also. It's not found in large groups like other deer like cheetal that you see in the plains. This is only a very rarely seen solitary species of deer, and it is only found in areas close to or beyond the tree line. So above 10,000 feet, 10 to 12,000 feet are the areas where you find this deer. And this is also very threatened. It's hunted because of a certain gland that the males have called the musk glands. That's what gives it its name, musk deer. So people hunt it for that gland, and the gland is supposedly used to make cosmetics and medicines. So this is a species which is high on the target list of hunters and poachers. That's why its population has really gone down over the years. Another very unique species that we have in Northeast is the Hollow gibbon. So have you heard of the word called ape? I'm sure you have. You have seen photos and videos and movies of about apes like gorillas and chimpanzees. If you look at the species, what is the difference between a monkey and an ape? Of course, we know that all of them are monkeys essentially, but there is a difference between a monkey and an ape. So apes are obviously more intelligent. They can stand on 2 feet, unlike monkeys. They have large brain sizes. So these are the things which makes apes unique and distinct from monkeys. And eventually, the ape family, which includes gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, includes us also. So if you look at the way of evolution, how evolution has progressed, and our overall relationship with other animals, we are also apes. So this is the only species of ape found in India, the Hulak gibbon. It may not look like a gorilla or a chimpanzee, but if you observe it closely, you would find that it's distinct from a normal monkey. It is intelligent. It lives in groups. It has got large and long hands, and it is only found in very small areas of the northeast in India. So it's called a gibbon, a Hulak gibbon. The animal on the right with the white eyebrow is the male, and the animal sitting next to it is the female. This is also one of the very unique features of gibbons. The males and the females are distinctly colored. So they only live on top of trees. They hardly ever come down to ground. They eat leaves and fruits, and they are quite harmless animals. The males have a distinct habit of calling and singing every morning, which makes it one of the most easily heard animals in the forest. But it is only found in certain dense forest areas, and it is highly threatened. If you take out the forest, then obviously gibbons have no place to survive. So that's why its population has also dwindled over the past years. Now we come to a very colorful bird, which is called the Blightdragopan. This is the state bird of Nagaland, and this is within a group of birds called tragopans, which are essentially pheasants, and these are found in high Himalayan areas. But the unique thing about this bird is that apart from the fact that how colorful and how beautiful it is the fact that it is only found in very very small and very restricted areas of the northeast. So this tragopan is only found in Nagaland, a small part of Arunachal, Mizoram, and other northeastern states. So Blythe's tragopan, it's named after a scientist who studied birds in India called Edward Blyth, and this is this bird in the picture is a male. The females are usually a little less colored, and they are brownish. So Blythe's tragopan is one of the unique birds that we have in the northeast, which are found nowhere else. Another bird which is unique to the northeast and globally threatened is the white-winged duck. This is the state bird of Assam. And if you look at this bird, this may look like a normal duck, but it is very very unique in its lifestyle and also the areas where it's found. So this duck, unlike the ducks that you see in ponds and lakes and all, this is a totally forest-dwelling duck that you find only inside deep pools within forests. Would you have a chance of finding this duck? So this duck is found in very limited areas of Assam, Arunachal, and adjoining areas, but it is found nowhere else. So this is a unique species, endemic. Species called as endemic are species which are found in a very limited area and nowhere else. So this is an endemic species of the Northeast Indian Himalayas. Another species which is very important, unique, and found only in the northeast within our country is the red panda. So this is the state animal of Sikkim, and it is an animal which is celebrated in cartoons, comics, and soft toys, but we know very little about it. So this is an animal which is found in only the dense uppermost forests near the snow line, and it is very seldom seen because it hides itself among treetops and branches most of the times. So this animal is found in Sikkim, of course, and it's also found in Arunachal and a little bit of northern part of West Bengal, including Darjeeling district and all. So this animal has a unique relationship with the bamboos. It can only survive in areas which have dense covering of bamboo because bamboo forms its main diet. And because of that only, if there is a good amount of deforestation, if people cut down trees and bamboos, red pandas will not have a home to live. So that's why this is also an animal which is globally endangered. And its total population strength, if you look at its distribution, apart from India, it's also found in China, Nepal, and Bhutan. Its total global population may be less than 10,000. So that's why it's considered as a globally endangered species. So this is an animal which also requires a lot of help and effort from people to conserve it. Another unique species of large mammal that we find in the northeast is a bear. All of you have seen bears in zoos or in documentaries, but this is a bear which is very very rarely seen. It's called the Himalayan Sun Bear. It's smaller than the other bears that we have. We have other species of bears like the Himalayan black bear and the sloth bear. The sloth bear is the most familiar species of bear which is found in the lower areas of the country, in the plains of the country. Himalayan black bears are bears which are also found in the northeastern states. But this bear is only found in very very limited areas of Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh, and it's not been recorded anywhere else. So it's also found in southeastern countries like Vietnam, Cambodia. But in India, it is only a very small pocket of the northeast that you find this bear. It's called the Himalayan Sun Bear. If you look at it, it's smaller in size than the other bears, and this is a bear which is exclusively, almost all the times, found on trees. So this climbs very well. It's mostly found on trees, and it feeds on fruits, insects like ants and termites, etc. And it's also threatened by hunting, poaching, and it's also loss of its habitat. So it's one of the most endangered animals that you find in our country. Uh, so this may look like a house cat, but this is one of the most rarest species of wild cats that we find in our country. So this is called the marble cat. The marble cat is among a group of cats called the small wild cats, small wild felines, which are obviously smaller than tigers and leopards, but they are also equally interesting and very threatened. So this marble cat, if you look at its beautiful coat, and it has a very long tail, but it's only found in very limited areas of the northeast, and people have very poor idea about the way it lives, what it eats, and how long does it survive in the wild. It's only in recent years that we've got some recent records and photographs of the marble cats in the wild. Otherwise, people only knew them from old museum specimens. So, marble cats are very rare. They are also threatened by hunting because of its beautiful skin and also loss of their habitat. This is also a species that we find in northeast. It has been recorded in areas like Assam, Arunachal, Nagaland, and other states. Not only mammals, we also find unique species of reptiles and amphibians in the northeast. And one example is this beautiful, small but beautiful turtle called the Assam roof turtle. It is found commonly in Assam, but only there and some adjoining areas, but nowhere else in the country. So this Assam roof turtle is found in and around water bodies, and you may come across it basking on rocks and river sand. But it's also a very rare animal, and it's known found nowhere else. You must know that the word wildlife does not only mean big animals and birds. So the wildlife means all life forms which are found in nature. So it includes plants like trees, grasses, shrubs, bushes, everything. So if you look at that diversity also, Northeast is truly unique. You have such beautiful species of flowers. You have flowering trees. You have grasses. You have herbs which are medicinal in property. So they are also not found anywhere else. And people living there have been using this plant resources for generations for taking care of their medical needs, building their houses, making their dresses, and also many other factors. So one such interesting plant is called the Blue Aconite or the monkshood. It's called monkshood if you look at because of the fact that if you look at the flowers seem like a drooping hood of a monk. The robes that the monks wear, the head and the hood resemble something like this flower. So this plant is unique to the Himalayas and is found in higher areas close to the tree line, around 9 to 12,000 feet. And the most interesting thing about it is that people have been using this plant for generations, but not in the usual way that you may think of. So this plant's its leaves, its roots, as well as its shoot is highly toxic, poisonous. This is among one of the most poisonous plants in the world, and the roots and their other extracts of the other parts of the plants have been used by the local tribal population for making poison, which they use in their bows and arrows for hunting. So this is a unique relationship that the people have had with this plant, along with other uses like making medicines out of their diluted extracts and all. But this is also a plant which has had a unique relationship with people living in the northeast and other areas of the Himalaya. So I've just tried to give you a very small snapshot of some interesting species that we find in the northeast. There are other species which are equally threatened. There are species of insects which are also only found in the northeast. So if you find a lot of resources on the internet, you can search and find out what other unique species are there. in the northeast. Though we have this huge amount of diversity of plants and animals in the northeast, but not all is well there. So we have this situation where in the present day, a lot of threats are there for long-term survival of this species. So all these areas, these forest areas, this wildlife species, including plants, birds, and animals, are threatened because of different factors, which in the end are related to us only. One of the factors is definitely hunting and poaching. People in the northeast have hunted for a very very long time, and it is a thing which is related to their tribal culture also. But now, what has happened is in the present day, hunting has become poaching. The difference between hunting and poaching is that in poaching you are killing the animal not to feed your family or to feed your stomach. You are killing it for cash. So you have all over the world. You have seen examples of rhinos being killed for their horns and other things, and how people sell these things in the black market, and uh, a lot of animals die every year for this. So this is a part of poaching, and in the northeast also there are animals like the black bear, and also other deer and other musk species like the musk deer and other birds are also which are targeted not just to feed the hunter's family, but to make cash and have a illegal wildlife trade. So this is one of the factors which has resulted in loss of a lot of wildlife species. And so then you have a factor which is true for all entire forest areas of our country. You have deforestation, which is because of different reasons. People sometimes they make a road, or they make a build a urban area, which results in a lot of deforestation. But there are also other issues. People try to extract trees, and people try to extract vegetation, so that also results in deforestation. So you can see in this photo there are the truck carrying the huge amount of tree trunks. These are obviously examples of deforestation. And also you can see that a road is being built within a forest area. So both of them are related. And the second part of it is unplanned development. Of course, we need roads, we need bridges, we need urban areas, we need habitations, but we need to be careful that because of those requirements, we do not end up destroying a large amount of forest areas. So that is where the balance needs to be there between development and environment. Climate change is real. It's here and it's real, and its impacts are everywhere, not only in coastal areas but also in forest areas and areas of high Himalayas, where we know that already glaciers and snow bound areas have started to melt. So climate change impacts also threaten these high altitude forests and other forests as well. By desertification, there may be increase in temperatures, which would result in all the vegetation being dry. We may have increased amount of floods, and large amount of forests may get washed away, of course with all their wildlife. So climate change is also a threat for a long-term survival of our forests and wildlife. Human wildlife conflict, it is basically a situation where people share space with the wildlife and wild species, and whenever they try to make use of a same resource, like for example forests, so people will encounter animal, and people living near the forest areas, they will have their agricultural fields close to the forest, so animals will come out and try to feed on their crops, and of course there will be a conflict. So it's a very difficult situation that a lot of people are trying to address in a different way, but it is something that we need to really urgently look at, because the human wildlife conflict results in a lot of loss in terms of wildlife species, their numbers, and their habitat. So what in the end, as a normal citizen can you do? So of course, there's a lot that you still need to learn, and you can find, like I told you, that you can find a lot of resources on the internet. But as somebody who is aware, you need to also raise this awareness regarding the importance of our forests and wildlife among your friends, your family, and as at an individual level, around your house only, you can try to adopt an eco-friendly lifestyle. Try to minimize the use of plastics as much as possible. Try to minimize the use of energy. Never keep lights on and water running. You all of this, and if you find anybody dealing in some illegal wildlife product, if you see somebody planning to hunt, inform the police, inform the forest officers, so that that incident does not take place. There are campaigns where a lot of volunteers are engaged for raising awareness on biodiversity, wildlife, and other conservation-related issues. Try to get yourself involved as much as possible, and of course, like one of you've seen how what our planet is like mostly becoming plastic now. So you need to, all of us need to look at better management of our garbage. So like I told you, we need to minimize the use of plastic as much as possible, but then also how we dump our garbage matters. So we need to look at ways of a systematic management of our waste, including everyday household garbage products. So all of these are things that you can do in your own way, and this would enable you to contribute towards conservation of our forests. And in future years, I hope that you get involved even more and try to learn as much as possible regarding forests and wildlife. And if you have any further queries, you can always get in touch with me. And this was Rajesh Chakraborty. I work with UNDP in a project called Secure Himalayas. So we are also trying to protect the high Himalayan forests, which are home to many species of wildlife. So thank you for being here.